Welcome to the day two synopsis of the Physicians 2020 Leverage and Growth Virtual Summit. Today was all about consulting, so you're going to hear from speakers such as Sunny Smith, Dr. Armin, Katrina Ubell, who is a weight loss coach, and Kathy Stepien. How moments of crisis can be turning points in our lives. So she mentioned the accident that she was involved in, which forced her to take months off and to reflect and think and just to be still. Same thing with the COVID-19. It's just forced all of us to just pause, take stock, and see where we need to go. The second thing was coaching versus psychiatry. So coaching is more of the personal human experience, whereas psychiatry is associated with the medical diagnosis, ICD-10 codes. So that was an also interesting insight. Third is, I love the quote that she gave was, between the stimulus and the response is the space. So in the stillness, in the silence is the space, and that's where you can reflect, think, meditate on what is the best course of action, the way to view things, change your mindset, your perspective, your beliefs. Fourth, as we all know, belief is 80% of the battle. The rest of it is just mechanics, and success leaves clues. So just follow those who are successful, those who are taking actions, implementing their ideas, and just take what you can learn from them and implement it into your own lives. Fourth, I love the idea where create time and space in areas of your life. And once a space is already overcrowded or occupied or it's time to move on, then give that opportunity and space to others. And lastly, get used to discomfort. Get used to the fear, the doubts, the naysayers. I really liked her idea of how she handles just people that just don't understand. So just network and get plugged in with like-minded physicians. So Dr. Armin today gave a very interesting talk. He has a very interesting background, being a psychiatrist and also a former athlete. And here's some of the key takeaways. I liked how he blended psychiatry and psychology, and he created a niche of athletic coaching, and specifically focusing on athletes' performance, wellness, as well as mental health, which is highly creative in my opinion. Two, the idea of a coach. I think we're all coaches as physicians, but really interesting was coaching, consulting, all have to be relatable to your clients. The third was very entrepreneurial in how he created niche programs and services around key market questions that his audience brought up to him. Fourth was combine your experience, skill, and expertise. One thing that I found very interesting was that he said that knowledge is not new. It's just how you package it, implement it, and utilize it to create value for your audience. And I liked how he was always reinventing himself, developing new skill sets that he didn't have, trying to be an entrepreneur and develop all of the skill sets that would help him to succeed. Fifth, success is 90% mental and 10% mechanics. And lastly, as we'll hear from a lot of the speakers, the power of social media. One, to amplify your message. Two, to reach a larger audience. And three, to leverage and scale your brand. Next, we had Katrina Ubell, who is a pediatrician and who is a physician weight loss coach. Some of the key takeaways I got from her story were turning your personal experiences and pain into your why. And I really liked the story where she talked about how she was at a point where she didn't really need the money, but really the customer was what motivated and drove her. Second is that a coach can help point out your maladaptive perceptions, patterns, and behaviors. So I know a lot of physicians and clients. I tell a lot of my clients that spending an hour or two with a coach can be some of the best investments because they can point out your blind spots and areas of your life that you don't really see or want to acknowledge. So get a coach. The third thing is following the Facebook group rules. But what I found really interesting was that how she developed her niche market and how she's used word of mouth marketing. So and how she leveraged her personality and her context to get onto media, which then led to her podcast, which led to her ideal customer. Fourth, our reaches are in the niches, so focus on one particular niche, and that's in develop and grow from there. And lastly, the issues, whether it's depression, anxiety, weight, anger, all of these issues are caused by the stories that we tell ourselves, which are not really true. It's just that we live in this emotional state and we use the ideas, environments, and references around us to support that emotional state. The next speaker was Kathy Stepien, who talked about advocating physician wellness through wellness retreats. Some of the key takeaways I got from her talk was the passion and the power of creating communities and engagement, and how she found novel ways of connecting like minded individuals and communicating. What I also found interesting was that due to COVID 19, she was forced to pivot and innovate and find creative ways of continuing her retreats in new and different ways via webinars, Zoom, and virtual summits. The idea of using CME as an extra incentive to get physicians to take time off to come to these retreats was also interesting. Also, she get the advice about trial of fire was particularly interesting in these spaces where really nobody's ventured into. So sometimes you have to just be authentic, passionate, and just go for it. Whether you win or you fail, as long as you learn something, you can reiterate it for the next time. And lastly, the power of authenticity. There's always going to be need somewhere, so find out what value you have and possess and how you can add that to the world.